This is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this next video lesson. So we want to take the next step in our introduction to structures. You saw that a structure is basically a collection of nouns, but that's only good for lack of a better term, one record. We want multiple records that will contain multiple students, right? So if I create, biology class students, I want student number 1 to have a first name, last name, month, day, year, GPA, and then student number 2 to have a different first name, last name, month, day, year, GPA, so forth and so on, so forth and so on. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constant that indicates that we have 2 students, say for example. Now, of course, this can be as large as you want, but we'll have 2 students, and here's the structure declaration. Again, we're using student, and we have 2 strings that define the name, 3 integers that define the month, day, year, and then finally a double that defines what the GPA is. Now, what I could do is I could do this. Now, I'm not going to do this, but I could say, let's create a student called CS225 student 1. And then I'll create another student called CS225 student 2, student 3, student 4. I could do that, but that would be a tremendous waste of time because I don't know how many students I have. I could have a large number of students this given semester. I could have a smaller amount. It could change throughout the semester, right? Perhaps a better way is to actually create an array of students. So what we'll do is I'll take this off and say student CS225 students, and then num of students indicates the size of this array. So what is this? It is an array of students. Specifically, I have 2 of them. I have 2 of those particular students. All right. Well, what I want to do now is to, within a for loop statement, go through each one of these different students and obtain them from the user. So we'll say this is the get user input section within a for statement. Let me go ahead and create a counter. So we'll say int I is equal to 0 or is assigned 0. And as long as this is less than the num of students, we're going to keep on propagating through this loop. And so we'll say I++ to go from student to student. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user for the student's information. So we'll say student 1. So in order for me to say student 1, let me place a space over here. I'm going to take that variable I, add 1 to it so that it says student 1. And then I'll say, comma, enter your first name. Now, we're going to use the cin statement to place that into this particular student. So that's a CS225 student. For this particular count, right, count is going to be 0, dot first name. You see the members over here. So it's the first name member that I'm interested in. So the same way as we handled the previous structure, same thing in terms of using the dot operator to gain access to the member list. So we'll do the same thing for all of the other students. So it looks like I'm going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting. So I think what I'll do is I'll just copy this, paste, because that's going to be for the last name, birth month, birthday, birth year, GPA. And then what we'll do at the very end, we'll just simply say C out, end of statement. So we go to the beginning of the next line. So let me change some items over here. That's supposed to say last name. And so for that operator, or for that member, if I hit dot, you see that last name is what I'm interested in. And then we'll say enter your birth month. So if I double click on this guy, hit dot, you'll see that there's the month property, birth day rather, dot, there it is, day. That's the member for this particular student. Say birth year. Again, double click over here, and here is the year property. Enter your GPA. Dot, and there is the GPA member. Okay, so now I have the ability to create a number of record of students so that I can accommodate an entire class, say for example. Well, now that I have this, what I'd like to do is to display this in a nice kind of column-like order of all of the different students who are in my class. So what we'll do is we'll generate an output section over here. Within, let's do this. Let's say cout. Let's create a column for the person's first name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the \T, which is the same thing as hitting tab on your keyboard, which is approximately, what, 8 to 10 spaces, say for example. And then I'll have the person's last name column. And again, \T. We want to display the month. And we'll say \T. The day, \T. The year, \T. And also the person's GPA. When we're finished with all that, we're going to go to the beginning of the next line. Okay. So now, because I have an array of this particular student structure or student's structure, I can once again use a for statement to propagate through all of the array elements. So we'll say for, and then I'll create a counter here called I. And as long as I is less than the number of students, and then I++ means I'm going to go from student to student. So what I'll do is I'll just simply say, let's take care of that one row or that one record of students. So we'll cout for this particular student, so that's CS225 students, for this particular element, for index 0, right, is what we're starting off at. Let's display their first name. After we display the first name, then I'm going to have to tab. So \T, \T. I'm going to do 2 tabs, and the reason why I'm doing that is if I hit tab 2 times, then I'll go all the way to the beginning of last name right here. And that's what I want to do. I want to go to the beginning of last name to display the person's last name member. So that means cout, CS225 students. Once again, that particular index. But the last name is what I'm going to display. And once again, \T, \T. Because we're only creating that one record. Well, I'm going to end up doing a lot of copying and pasting, so let me just simply copy this line over here. And this will be for the month, day, year, and GPA. And I have some corrections to make, obviously. So if it's the month that I want to display over here, .month. And now this one, we're just going to need one \T because the month is just going to be a number. It's going to be a really small amount. .day, once again, just one \T for a tab. Same thing for year, .year, and of course only one \T. And then finally the GPA. So .GPA, there it is. And I don't want to actually tab at this point. I just simply want to go to the beginning of the next line. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to output all of the information for student number 1, and then student number 2, and so forth and so on. Once we're done, let's just go ahead and say cout and del to go to the beginning of the next line. Save my work. So again, structures and arrays, they go hand in hand. And this is a beautiful way to make a very simple database. So let me run the program. Let me change the font here. So we'll say properties, font 16. And I can move this over so that you can see the code here. Actually, I don't need that output panel right there. Just leave it like that. There we go. Okay, student 1, enter your first name. Okay, Robert. Enter. Solis. 2000. GPA, of course, 4.0. Student 2, enter your first name. Okay, Joshua. James. 2001. Enter your GPA, 3.9. Enter. So now we have a nice table. That was the whole purpose of this for statement, of creating a column, first name, last name. And now you can see why I had to use the 2 \T's so that I would tab from here, it would go to here, and then from here it would go to here. Same thing over here. After last name, I needed to tab twice. But then for month, day, year, only 1 tab is necessary. So I have a nice column of data, and this is really the collection of our student, or CS225 students structure. And that's it. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.